If you've ever driven through the desert at night, or hiked alone where there's no signal, you need to hear this. People think deserts are empty. They're wrong. Tonight, I'm sharing 3 true-feeling horror stories about the kind of places where the road doesn't end, it just forgets you. A place where footprints disappear while you're still standing in them, where mile markers change when you're not looking, where something in the sand learns your name. And the worst part? In every single one of these stories, the desert doesn't chase you, it waits. Lock your doors, turn the lights off, and don't skip ahead, because the first story starts with a single footprint, and it doesn't belong to anyone you can see.
The thing that follows the last footprint. I wasn't supposed to be alone in the Mojave, but when I woke up, the tent was empty. No note, no footprints, no car. Just miles of desert in every direction and the sound of wind dragging sand across fabric like fingernails. My friend Caleb had been there when I fell asleep. We'd driven out to film a desert survival challenge video because apparently we thought dehydration would get us views. Influencers are a different species. I stepped outside. The sun hadn't risen yet. The horizon was purple and gray, cold, too cold for comfort. And there were footprints, one set, leading away from the tent, barefoot. Caleb had gone to bed in boots. I called his name. The desert swallowed it. No echo, no birds, nothing. I followed the prints because that's what you do when you're scared and pretending you're not. The sand was smooth except for those impressions, perfectly shaped, deep, like whoever made them was heavy. Too heavy. They stretched out in a straight line toward a cluster of rock formations about half a mile out. I kept checking behind me. No reason, just a feeling. Halfway there, I noticed something that made my throat close. There was still only one set of footprints. Mine should have been visible behind me. The sand was untouched. I spun around. Nothing, just open desert and our lonely tent in the distance. But I could hear it now, a second set of steps, soft, slow, keeping pace with mine. When I stopped walking, it stopped. When I took a step, it followed. But there was no one there. The air started feeling thick, wrong. I forced myself to keep moving toward the rocks. Maybe Caleb was messing with me. Maybe this was a prank, a bad one. The footprints led behind the tallest rock. I rounded the corner, and they stopped. No turning, no scuffling, no drag marks. Just the last print and smooth sand beyond it, like something had stepped out of reality. That's when I heard Caleb's voice, behind me. Don't look at it. I turned anyway. He was standing 20 feet away, facing me. But he wasn't right. His eyes were too wide, too glossy. His skin stretched tight like it didn't fit properly. He didn't blink. Don't let it see you know, he whispered. The second set of footsteps started again, circling us, crunching slowly in the sand. I couldn't see anything, but the sand was sinking inward, forming fresh impressions around us. Caleb's mouth twitched. It follows the last footprint, he said. It steps where you step. If you stop leaving them, it has nowhere to stand. The circle tightened. The air dropped 10 degrees. I looked down. New prints were forming beside mine. Deep, too deep. Something invisible was pressing into the sand, right next to me. I held my breath, stopped moving. The wind picked up. Sand began to blow across the ground, softening the edges of every footprint around us. The invisible steps faltered, paused, then pressed harder. The print beside me sank deeper than any before. The sand trembled. Caleb smiled. Too wide. It doesn't like when you erase it. The wind died instantly. The sand settled. Every footprint around us vanished, except one, right in front of me, fresh, waiting. Caleb was gone. The rocks were gone. The tent was gone. It was just me and a single footprint in the middle of endless desert. And then my foot lifted on its own and stepped into it.
The radio at mile marker 327. The road through the Nevada desert is empty in a way that feels personal, like it doesn't want you there. I was driving back from filming drone shots near the edge of the Mojave. No service, no towns for miles, just heat waves rising off asphalt and mountains that look painted on. That's when the radio turned on. I hadn't touched it. The screen was cracked and barely worked. I usually use Bluetooth, but it clicked to life anyway. Static. Then a voice. Turn around. I laughed because obviously, very funny, I muttered, assuming it was some weird emergency broadcast glitch. Static again. You missed it. The road ahead stretched perfectly straight for at least 10 miles. No exits, no signs, nothing to miss. The radio cut out, then came back louder. Turn around, mile marker 327. I glanced at the dashboard. Mile marker 312. I should have turned it off. Instead, I kept driving. Curiosity is the dumbest survival instinct humans have. The sun started setting too fast. 1 second orange, the next almost dark. The temperature dropped hard like someone flipped a switch. At mile marker 320, the radio came back. You're late. The voice sounded closer, clearer, not distorted anymore. Male, calm, patient. My headlights flickered. Up ahead, something was standing in the road. Tall, too tall. At first, I thought it was a sign bent at an angle. Then it moved, not walking, unfolding, like joints snapping into place. I slammed the brakes. The tires screamed. The figure stood directly under the mile marker sign. I hadn't passed 313 yet. The sign read 327 anyway. The radio crackled softly. There you are. The figure didn't have a face, just a smooth surface where one should be, but it tilted its head like it was studying me. Then it stepped forward. The sound wasn't footsteps. It was the sound of gravel being pressed down by something impossibly heavy. My headlights dimmed as it got closer. The radio volume turned itself up. You drove over it. My stomach dropped. What? I whispered. You didn't see me the first time. The desert behind the figure started to shift. Sand rippled like water, and shapes began rising out of it. Cars, half buried, rusting, dozens of them, all facing the same direction, all stopped at mile marker 327. The radio hummed softly. You never stopped the first time. The figure bent forward, impossibly low, peering into my windshield. The glass began to crack from the pressure, tiny fractures spidering outward. You always turn around. The engine shut off. The headlights died. Everything went black. For a second, there was silence. Then I heard my own voice on the radio, panicked, breathing hard. Turn around. The dashboard lit up. Mile marker 312. Sun high in the sky. Empty road ahead. No figure, no cars in the sand. The radio clicked off, like nothing happened. I stared at the road, and then, slowly, the volume knob turned itself. Static filled the car. You missed it. Don't let the desert learn your name. I went to the Sonoran Desert to be alone. That was the mistake. People think deserts are empty. They aren't. They're quiet, and quiet things listen. I was hiking alone near the edge of the Sonoran Desert, a few miles off trail. No service, no other hikers, just saguaros standing around like witnesses. Around sunset, I found a shallow dip in the sand that looked almost like a dry pond. Perfect place to camp, I thought, protected from wind. The first weird thing happened at dusk. I heard my name, clear as day, behind me. I turned fast enough to hurt my neck. Nothing. No footprints except mine. The sand was smooth in every direction. I told myself it was auditory hallucination from heat exhaustion, because obviously that's more comforting than the alternative. Then it happened again. This time from the other side. Soft, almost curious. Richie. The voice wasn't mocking, it wasn't threatening. It sounded like it was trying the word out for the first time, like it had just learned it. My chest tightened. I hadn't told anyone exactly where I was hiking. I hadn't passed another person all day. The wind started to move in a circle around the dip. Not strong, just enough to lift sand into a thin spiral. The voice came again, closer, slightly off. Richie. It stretched the name wrong. Too many consonants, too slow. That's when I realized something that made my skin go cold. It wasn't calling to me, it was practicing. The spiral of sand tightened. It was forming a shape in the center of the dip, a depression, like something invisible was kneeling there. "Say it again," the voice whispered. I didn't. The air pressure shifted, my ears popped. "Say your name." The sand depression deepened. Handprints appeared, pressing down into nothing. I backed up slowly. The voice copied my breathing, in sync, perfectly, then slightly delayed, then slightly ahead, trying to match me, trying to learn me. I turned to run, but the desert floor beyond the dip had changed. It was covered in names, hundreds of them, etched into the sand, some fresh, some almost erased by wind. Every direction I looked, more names, overlapping, layered, as if people had stood right where I was and said them out loud. I looked down, at my own feet. My name was already written there, perfectly carved into the sand. The voice spoke again, clear now, confident. It sounded exactly like me. "I know it." The wind stopped instantly. Silence. Total. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Minutes passed, maybe hours. Eventually, the stars came out. Nothing else happened. No more voices, no movement. The sand looked normal again. No names, no handprints, just my camp. I packed up at sunrise and left without looking back. When I got home, I checked my camera footage from that night. There was no audio, just wind, and one frame right before the battery died. A figure made of swirling sand standing behind me, its mouth open, practicing.